Santeria.
Welcome, Millsy. Thank you for tuning in from the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, as I always say in the morning, let's get this show started.
Let's go.
Good morning, everybody. It's December 11th, 2023. The year is almost over. There's only a few days left to Christmas. You all know what that means. You got to go out and waste your money on everything, but really you should be doing it where? Spending it here on Super Chats. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You should be doing that here and supporting our channel here. But anyway, good morning. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking here in the digital media world. I'm so glad to be hosting DYOR Live once again on the DYOR Media Network. As they always say, we come to you with a great show with new topics and only the hottest content that the internet is just dying for. And that's why we're overloaded with viewers this morning. Thousands and okay, we've got a couple. As usual here live in the morning. But anyway, as usual, I've got Pedro Garcia in the house. Pedro, what's happening?
Good morning. How you doing? Hey, I heard, dude, Friday was on fire, man. I heard we had like 20, 30 viewers on live show. That's huge.
It was
man.
fire. I don't know, but you weren't here though, Pedro. Maybe that's the issue. I mean,
yes, and this is maybe I need to get going. Maybe we were just like, hey, you know what? That crypto chart dude. I don't know about him. Him and his long hair. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but I had the longest hair of my life, and I just got a cut recently. I'd had enough of it. I'd had enough of the. What I didn't know when you have long hair, it doesn't look good until it's dirty. Till you have greasy hair, it's like, and I was like, after many decades of not having greasy hair, I was like, that's it, that's enough. Okay, couldn't do it anymore. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, this is a good show for you today. As usual, I'll have Pedro on here in a bit talking about some technical analysis, the BTC, the markets, and some other stuff. We'll have him at the beginning of the show. Then we're going to have a guest, and then we'll have Pedro at the end of the show for more questions and answers. But I got to tell you, I've been in crypto now for a little while here, and there's parts of the industry that I've just not paid attention to. And as many of you know, I was in Toronto recently for the Canadian Blockchain Consortium's annual summit, and they had a whole panel discussion about power, BTC power, not just BTC, but the mining industry, and part of it was the energy behind it, how it's produced, how it's distributed and stuff. And I met a great person there who's going to be on the show later. And I'll save the long intro for that for later when I intro that. But one of the things that, in general, to talk about is the way that the media has been spinning the myths behind the energy market and Bitcoin, and how when it first came out, it was talking about, wow, it uses a lot of energy. And really what happened was it wasn't that big of a deal until Elon Musk stuck his rocket ship into the mess and said, that's it, we're not taking Bitcoin until you guys become more energy efficient. And then, like, within a few weeks later, like, wow, Bitcoin's fixed the problem. I'll take Bitcoin again. And so it became a national and really worldwide news story. And in a lot of places put regulations in on mining, said you can't mine anymore, this kind of stuff. But just down the street, there's an Amazon data center pulling 20 times the amount of power just for people to watch their TikToks and all this type of stuff of no value at all, just burning dead dinosaurs here. So anyway, I thought to myself, I said, this is a good topic to talk about. Anyway, so we'll be talking about that a lot later, and probably because it's of interest to me, we'll talk about it more. But more importantly, we want to talk about Pedro and the markets here. Pedro, we had over the weekend, we saw a nice dumpage here. Market was booming. You're looking at 44,000. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, what's going on? So Pedro, what is going on? Pedro, you're on mute.
All right, thank you very
There you
much.
go.
There we are. So real quick, as you guys can see, we've talked about how we had that 30,000 mark here that we were just grinding through. Um, and now we pushed through, and obviously I've removed that from my chart because it's been chewed through. But the biggest key right here is this, is that we're sitting at this monthly level, sitting right here. And really, I think this is actually a bullish sign. The reason why is we didn't come up, we didn't tap it. And so many times what happens in the market is that it will go through, and instead of hitting a zone, what it'll do is start right before, and it'll chew up a lot of the sellers sitting right before the actual market gets to the zone. And then what will happen is it'll sell off, take up the buyers down at these lower levels. 'Cause I've been talking about how down here we didn't have any defense against the buyers, where the sellers didn't step in, right? We didn't see any sellers push down the market and then buyers push it back up.
Right.
So when that typically happens, is we typically then see a retracement back into those levels, because again, there are stops sitting here that want it, not that they don't want it, but it's just the institutions sit there and see there are orders sitting there. Let's go pick those up. And so that's what they're going to do. They'll probably come down, pick them up. And so we'll probably see a little bit sell above 36,000 area, potentially even coming down. Like I keep talking about this 30,000, coming back and retesting that 30,000 area. And then most likely, and this is the most pointed thing to me. This is why I'm looking for it to come back up and test these 48,000 mark areas, because you see we don't have any really seller wicks up in these higher levels here. And so it's like, yeah, it's an easy way for it to go above. So to sell off, get some orders, rally up for the bulls, and then push through this area. So this, even though this is a strong area here on the daily, weekly, and monthly zone, it looks like the institutions want to push it down a little bit further down before they continue it up potentially.
Well,
If not, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. If not, let's jump into, and I'm always talking about how in Bitcoin, it's all transparent, right? We can sit there and see what's going on. We can actually see, where it's traditional markets, you can't see it, right? I've talked about how, they hide orders, iceberg orders, and stuff like that. And we can talk about in crypto, we have future orders, right? We know that there are exchanges out there that allow people to trade futures, and the institutions are very much involved in that as well. But what's nice about it is the spot market. We can definitely see what's actually happening there. And you can see here that the longs definitely gave up. Now, a while back ago, Tom, we talked about this level here. How we had those huge sell-offs in the market, but there weren't, the spot price really wasn't selling off. We could see that right up in here. And then I forget what day it was, back in March, where we had that huge sell-off. And I was like, holy moly.
Right. I remember.
Yep. And then we went sideways here, and I said, well, I don't know. Typically, when we have this type of movement here in a chart, it typically means it wants to sell off. So I said, just hold off. I'm not exactly sure. Right. And sure enough, look, we're seeing a nice little sell off. We need to start giving those dates and times that I say these statements, so that we can go back and say, look, during this date and time, we can sit there and say he said this, right? So, but I say that is because we're now seeing the spot market give up their tail here, right? They're just liquidating, boom, boom, boom. Whether that is people are finally in profit and they just needed to get out of the market because they were hemorrhaging when it was down at 20,000 and 30,000, right? But now at this point, they're definitely giving up the coin here. But what's interesting, and this is what I found, typically when you see this type of movement, what do you typically see? A step in of the shorts, right? Well, look at this. I think they're scared. I mean, all honest, like, look at this. Like, they're just sitting here, right? This is the short side of the market, where people are shorting, and they're just kind of chilling, saying, okay, we're gonna play a little smart, we're gonna chill just a little here, and we don't know if this is going to rally. So again, this is where I'm more bullish than bearish, even in this sell-off, simply because I don't see short stepping in. You know, if I saw a big old green candle, and let me go ahead and elaborate on this. This chart here shows me who are the shorts stepping in, and if the shorts are stepping in, you see the green candle here, as you can see right here. And I'm trying to see if I feel like my spidey senses tell me somebody has a question. No?
I have a lot of questions because I don't know what I'm looking at here.
Okay.
That was your spidey sense.
All right. So I'm assuming, okay, so talk to me. What is that you're trying to...
I just didn't understand this chart and what the X and Y axis is here.
Okay. So this chart covers the short stepping into Bitcoin. Okay. And because we can sit there and track in Bitcoin or on the blockchain who's short and who's long, right? Or who's buying the spot market, right? This is the spot market tracking of Bitcoin. Okay.
I got you.
And so you can see here on my left hand side here. Let me go ahead and move it just a little. Oh yeah, that ain't gonna work. If you'll right here, right next to Tom head, behind it is literally I follow Ethereum, the shorts and the longs. It was actually really interesting that BTC, or not BTC, but BNB actually took theirs off. They actually did. They refused to show it, which was really interesting. But XRP's there, Dogecoin is there. You have Matic, ADA, Tron. They're all of the top ones. You can sit there and see the top, seeing who's long and who's short. Dominantly on the actual spot coin, so on the spot market. So the reason why I bring this up is we're seeing a sell-off in Bitcoin. Okay, but it's purely people selling off. It's not the shorts.
Interesting. Can you go back to the BTC chart real quick?
Yes, sir.
I'm learning a few things from you. As I like to say to everybody watching, including our guests behind the scenes, I use this show not just to teach everybody else stuff, but for me to learn too. And I learn a lot of stuff here. The wick on the dump wick. If you could bring that over closer to me so I could point at it. Yeah. The dump wick got eaten up pretty quickly here. I mean, it came down. It came down, and if you look at like the 5-minute chart, it dumped from 44 to 40,000 or something like that, 43 something to 40,000 even, and then immediately half of it was bought right back up. So to me, they liquidated the longs, so bam, 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 cleared them out, and then those guys said, "Oh crap, I better rebuy in," and then they bought in and brought it back up a little bit. So that demand wick, or you should, I'm not using the right terminology.
No, but demand wick is great. You can use buyer wick or demand. It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
That seems to be a good thing. For appreciating price, not for the people that want to get short here and see it go down. But anyway, why don't you tie this segment up so we can move on, and we'll come back to talk about other tokens.
Yep.
What do we got going on? Quickly, give me the 30-second short-term version of BTC. Where's it going?
So we should see probably a nice little sell-off here, maybe Monday and Tuesday, coming down to that 37,000 mark, and then potentially moving back up. But I do see over the next couple of days, seeing a nice little sell-off potentially to these lower levels. Because remember, this is the opening of the U.S. market, so they're pushing it up to sell it off. So if we go to a 5-minute chart, you can see that they started pushing it up. I was actually into last night here, boom, with one 5-minute candle, and kind of been going sideways. We have a little bit of push up right here from the market opening, right? Boom, it's here. We went up, came down, trying to push it up, but they're just gathering orders to drop it. Most likely, again, this is not financial advice. It's only for educational and entertainment purposes only.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Pedro, for that info on BTC. It'll be interesting to see if we can recover out of this little mini dip, and then later when we come back, see how the altcoins are reacting to that dump off. But as I like to say here, This show couldn't be possible, and our channel couldn't be possible without our sponsors. And lately, I've been talking about it here and there, but today I'm going to play the commercial for Audit Chain. And so, as I always like to say, instead of me sitting up here blathering on about our sponsor, Audit Chain, you can listen to me talk about Audit Chain.
Most of you know that crypto exchanges have been taking a beating about transparency, and many groups out there are trying to solve that. But Audit Chain has already done that. Audit Chain's protocols and network of validators can mathematically prove that a company's entire financial state, not just proof of reserves, but a proof of state, and whether or not that company is providing accurate reporting and information to the respective government regulators and to the public. Seriously, you and I can check crypto companies and traditional companies' financial reports for transparency and accuracy using a logic and reasoning engine called Pacioli that records its output where? On the blockchain. Seriously, ladies and gentlemen, blockchain technology is now able to be used to check on traditional companies. Behind me is a list of companies that comprise the S&P 500, S&P 100. In essence, the largest U.S. companies by size. More than one quarter, 29 out of 100, have problems with their reports. Remember, accounting and other corporate systems are garbage in and garbage out. So if there are problems with the data out for these companies, in red here, what does that mean? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There are problems with the data going in. And this was figured out not by accounting or auditing firms and fleets of consultants. This was compiled and reported on by Audit Chain's Pacioli validating nodes and took only 5 minutes. It's revolutionary and it's a disruptor technology. Audit Chain.
Auditchain.finance, ladies and gentlemen. Go to the website and you'll be able to hit up their Telegram, their Discord, and all their other social medias in order to learn all about them. Remember, I'm just the YouTube guy. A guy in LinkedIn went at me the other day saying I wasn't contributing to the discussion when I was talking about Audit Chain. And I'm like, I'm the marketing guy, man. I'm not the technical guy. He's like, we insisted that marketing guys should be as knowledgeable as the lawyers. And I was like, no, that's not how this works. Anyway, let's not forget about right below me here is Camuso CPA. And Camuso CPA is an accounting firm in the United States that is one of those people that is allowed to say this is financial advice and this is tax advice because that's what they do. And they focus on crypto. And if you've got do not understand crypto tax accounting, either for yourself or if you're for your company, click down on down here in a link somewhere and below me, and I've got a link to them and tell them that that Striking at DYOR Media has found you or sent you. Anyway, as many of you heard when I started the show today, taken an interest in as Pedro has taught me more about Bitcoin, and I've learned about more from Bitcoin from the industry. People always say it's the naysayers say it's just a Ponzi scheme. It's nothing. There's nothing to it, and all that kind of stuff. And none of those people, like myself, realize the extent of the industry behind. And I shouldn't just say Bitcoin. I should say the proof of work mining industry. As we all know, Ethereum famously changed from proof of work to proof of stake, taking their energy requirements down by 99%. And everyone's like, that's a great thing. Wow, that's so amazing. You moved to proof of stake. You guys are so on top of it. Everything is great. And I thought about it and I was like, well, wait a minute. Now that I've learned about that I'm learning about the power and generation industry, that Ethereum thing isn't such a good thing. I mean, it is a good thing. For one thing, they're using less energy. But there's also the other side of it in which, and I'm going to let our guest talk about this more, in which the power grid is vast and is a delicate, it is one big juggling act, apparently. Not like 3 juggling or chainsaws, 3 of them. It's like juggling 1,000 chainsaws. And keeping it balanced and running all the time is very difficult. And apparently the Bitcoin mining industry is actually a tool that the power generation and delivery group guys can use to balance the grid, can turn demand on and off as needed, and a bunch of things that I sort of understand because I lived in California during the Enron debacle. I guess the kind of the best way. I was blown away listening to this panel discussion talk that Colia Carrington at the Canadian Blockchain Consortium had put together about the mining industry, and it was really good. We had Ben Harper moderating it, and I think we had the CEO of Hut 8, one of the largest mining company pools, on the panel, and we had our next guest here. Our next guest is Simon Raven with a company called Nexus Digital Energy, which we're going to get into. But Nexus is a new company in which Simon is taken that leap off the proverbial entrepreneurial edge in order to start the company and provide better energy solutions to the Bitcoin mining pool groups, data centers, high performance computing, all that stuff. When you're, like I said, when you're surfing TikTok videos, it's got to come from somewhere, ladies and gentlemen. Someone powers it. But anyway, Simon, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tom. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, good. I'm glad you're here. You're also coming to us through various data centers and stuff like that are powered by the grid. What can you say about I always struggle with the first question of the interviews, other than "Hey, how you doing?" But what can you say is the single most important thing that the media gets wrong about the mining industry energy usage?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I think it starts with, what's a useful use of electricity or power in our society. The original, I guess, feedback or pushback from, the traditional media and a lot of the public, not understanding the Bitcoin network was, this is new. We've never had this before, so it's probably not needed. It never was needed. So using energy to support it, it's probably a waste of energy. It's kind of the tone and feedback that I got before. And I think it comes down to what is it and why are we doing it, right? I think that's what they get wrong is the use of the energy. Is it valid or important in society?
Right.
You think about it. I've spent most of my career in the energy, oil and gas production industry and in the power generation industry. And, we're taking resources and providing electrons to the market to power things. And, what's important? Is heating your house important? Most people in Canada, when it's 20, 30 below, would probably agree heating your house is important. Is putting food on the table important? Yes. Is clothing your kids important? Yes. All these things take energy, right? It's a digital network that supports a new kind of money, in a sense, digital money, or the exchange of value over the internet. Is that important? Historically, it wasn't. But in today's age, with fiat currencies being devalued by the minute, with hyperinflation in many countries, with really Bitcoin came around after the great financial crash in 2008 because of this instability of the traditional financial system. So is it important? I would certainly argue it is. It's a very novel innovation. It's changed the world in a lot of ways. I think
absolutely.
Well, so that's, I think, what they mostly get wrong is the value of the underlying ecosystem to start with.
Well, I can't stress what I've learned is how many people are actually employed by this. Just the amount of infrastructure that it builds. As we all know, one of the best return on investments that any country can make in itself is infrastructure. It keeps on giving, even if you go into debt to build it. Same with companies. If a company builds infrastructure, and people think of energy usage as just an expense. And like you said on the panel, most people don't even understand how energy is either made or delivered. They just think it's magic. It shows up out of the wall. But the infrastructure that's built and is paid for, so if it's paid for by taxes, that's one thing. But if it's paid for by industry, it's essentially free to the nation because it's paid private, not free, but it was not taxed. But it's used by everybody in various consumption groups, whether you're buying something on Amazon, whether you're mining Bitcoin, whether you're now into the artificial intelligence and all that stuff. And so as people learn about it, it's like, wow, that's a lot of energy. It seems to be very, very useless. Because they assume that it's all just, sucking dinosaurs out of the ground and burning it and sending sending pollution in the air. But I've just recently listened to Scott Moe, the premier of Saskatchewan, the other day, and how they have reduced their methane releases from the oil and gas sector by 50% in the past 3 years. And they're trying to get to 80% in the next 3 years. As we know, doing anything, it's easy. The first 50% is 90% of the battle or something like that. And then I started matching what he was saying with what you guys are saying on the panel about recapturing gas, methane, and other types of stuff that escapes from oil wells and turning it into energy for mining. And apparently your new company is going to be focused on that. Can you tell us our viewers here, what is it that you're trying to do with the escaping gas out of oil wells and things like that, and give us the overview of it? Because I don't understand it so well, so I'd like to hear it from the expert.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I'd like to touch on the infrastructure one first and then come to the flare gas.
Sure.
I think they both kind of connect. When you look at a modern power grid, I agree with you. Countries and industries investing in infrastructure, typically long-term, durable payoff and benefit for society. And so in Canada, we've got a pretty modern, diverse power grid. It's powered by things like wind, solar, natural gas, some nuclear, not as much in Alberta, but in Ontario and out east, geothermal now. And there's this real, I'd say, ongoing debate and evolution in the space where and politically too in Canada, you've got the federal government pushing for a net zero grid across the country by 2035. And you've got the Alberta government pushing back saying, we're on board with getting to net zero, but it's going to take us till 2050. So you've got these, different views on timing, but really to me, it comes down to engineering and infrastructure. You can have a diverse grid with lots of renewable sources. That's great. I'm fully supportive of that. But you have to engineer it properly. And the issue is, wind and solar are intermittent, right? The sun doesn't shine at night,
right.
And the wind doesn't always blow. And so to have a grid that's fully based on wind and solar, you need either massive battery backup or you need some sort of base load power that's going to pump out electrons when wind and solar aren't going. So in a cold, dark winter day in Alberta or most of Canada, that source of energy is natural gas. And so that's where we're focused. And baseline power production, about 80% of the power in Alberta is coming from natural gas-fired generators. We burn natural gas, produce electricity, tie it into the grid.
80%?
Yeah, and we phased out coal completely. I think there's one coal plant still operating that's supposed to be converted over to gas here, I think by the end of this year. So Alberta is essentially zero coal. That's a good thing. Gas is a cleaner burning fuel.
Right.
But to get off of fossil fuels completely is a really big task because of the intermittency of the alternatives other than nuclear, which is a longer discussion and a much longer timeline to go all nuclear.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Just ask the Germans that.
Right? And so we're stuck with this situation where natural gas is an important part of the energy mix for grid stability and for, frankly, safety and survival in a Canadian winter. So that's critical. The reason Bitcoin mining and data centers play such a crucial role is because they're a disruptible load. And you can put this load on the grid. They consume electricity in an economic way because they're supporting a viable network and getting rewarded for that. The term Bitcoin mining, I think, confuses a lot of folks. You're like, what are you actually mining? You think with picks and shovels, like mining. Really, you're solving complex algorithms and securing the network. It's the underlying cryptography of the Bitcoin network that allows all that trading that Pedro shows on his screen to happen. And the beauty, the big innovation with Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. There's no central party. There's no bank in the middle. Nobody owns it. So it's really powerful and it's really distributed. And to do that, you need a bunch of computers running these cryptography algorithms to secure the system and validate the transactions. To do that, you need to consume electricity. And so, again, at first blush, you go, maybe that's wasteful. It's really not, because there's an abundant electricity production. Even wind and solar, they're producing excess electricity during the day that the grid can't actually absorb.
Really?
So and that power prices in Alberta sometimes go as low as zero because there's a oversupply of electricity during the day, and then between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., when everyone comes home and turns on their appliances, you get a big crunch in demand, and those sources can't meet it. So you see what we call peaker plants, natural gas plants, spool up to meet that demand. So grid stability is really critical. Otherwise, the lights go off. We take it for granted. You just, like you said, hit a switch and the lights come on, and hit another button and the furnace runs, and life is great, right?
It's all magic.
A lot of infrastructure behind this, right?
That's magic.
Well, just quickly on your excess power for windmill one day, I used to drive between Chicago and Indianapolis a lot, and in between there is a wind farm of at least 1,000 windmills, or probably more by now. It's amazing. Wow. It's just so big, so vast. And I was driving there during the day once, and every single one of them was off, and just sitting there parked. And the irony of it was that it was Earth Day. it was Earth Day, and every windmill was off, and I'm like, it's Earth Day, and they're burning dinosaurs and cracking uranium right now, rather than using the wind power. And I was like, well, they didn't need the power, so they turned them off. And so
that is funny. Yeah, I'm a big, there's a lot of polarization in the energy space. I'm a believer in all sources of energy and in supporting our safety and security and our climate. We have to, we need a resilient grid first and foremost, right? And so you got to balance it. The beauty of these data centers and Bitcoin mines is they can draw a lot of power from the grid when it's not needed by other customers. And then when it is needed, they can turn off. And so they can feed that power back to the grid to power households during that crunch time in the evening.
And they could do it instantly. You don't need to wind it down. It's off.
In seconds. And then the beauty of the Bitcoin network is, I always joke to my colleagues, if I'm running, cloud compute or a data center for AI, it is a little different. You turn off, you might get an angry phone call. The Bitcoin network, no one calls you and like, hello, this is the Bitcoin network. Could you please turn your node back on? Nobody cares, right? The network
this is Satoshi. Are you screwing this up?
Right? Exactly, right? So
all right,
really
so tell us about Nexus and what's going on with that technology of capturing energy coming out of the ground.
So our real focus, I come from an oil and gas background, and most of my work's been in that space. And so, again, we didn't invent this idea, but we're pursuing it here in Alberta. And our focus for that energy source is stranded gas wells and flare gas production. So in many oil and gas operations, the easiest example is if you've got oil wells that are producing oil and gas, typically you're going to get both products. The oil can go in a tank and go in a truck and get shipped to market. So even if you don't have pipeline infrastructure in a new field, you can get the oil off-site. But the gas, without pipelines, you can't get it to market.
Right.
And so what'll happen is you'll end up flaring that gas, because just venting it will put pure methane right into the atmosphere.
Like the beginning of the Blues Brothers movie. Just
yeah, exactly. So by flaring it, you're burning that gas on site, and you're just literally burning it. You see this big flare stack in the sky. And that's a complete waste of energy, right? It's polluting. You're putting CO2 and other emissions into the air. So we go to these sites, we take that gas and we put it into a generator, we turn it into power, and then we connect that to a container full of computers, essentially, either running the Bitcoin algorithm or running cloud compute.
Delivering TikToks.
And we have to thank, I got a shout out to Elon Musk and Starlink here. These are remote sites, again, without infrastructure, without high-speed internet, this doesn't work. We need to be connected to the cloud, right? And
is the latency good enough on Starlink for this?
It absolutely is. You're not quite there for a high-speed, the highest tier AI cloud compute data centers, but for Bitcoin mining, absolutely.
That's interesting.
Starlink's quite fast, yeah.
So you can you can literally seek out new sources of energy to run your modular units anywhere in the world that the footprint of Starlink hits.
It's pretty cool. It's a confluence of technology, right? A decade ago, this wasn't a thing. You couldn't take a stranded gas well and turn that gas into power and that power into data and then beam it to the sky. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're creating like digital pipelines to the sky. It's
10 years ago, we've been like, we'll just beam that stuff to the sky. People were like, ha, ha.
People would have laughed at you, like,
right? Like, oh, you're going to build your own satellite for $200 million? Yeah, I got it. Right. Well,
Right, right.
innovations that I saw recently was a camera that can see methane coming out of, whatever, high density methane, not just molecules.
Yep.
And I think I first saw it on a like a satellite, that there was some pipe breakage or something in California, and the most amazing amount of methane was going up, and they could actually see the cloud. And then I saw it the other day showing an oil well that I don't know, it had an issue or something. It was just leaking, and I was like, you can see that now, and I was thinking that, and it wasn't coming out like, psst. It was gone, and I'm like, hope no one's smoking, Just,
Yeah, don't go by there with a match. Yeah.
right. But anyway, all of that now is something that, well, hold on. As we all know, methane is far worse for the environment, the air quality, and climate change than carbon dioxide. It's like 80 times worse or something like that, or whatever the number is. I'm sure the comments will be filled with hate or something. I didn't get that right.
No, you're pretty close. It's about 80 times stronger greenhouse gas. And the issue is just unburned methane, raw methane coming out of a well or out of a landfill, for example. Almost every landfill in the world produces methane because of rotting plant matter in the landfill, right? So, yeah, unabated methane emissions are really potent greenhouse gases, which is why we talk about flaring. Burning it at least turns that methane and breaks it down into CO2, which is much less potent.
It's just polluting
yeah,
less.
We've got to capture this. Yeah, well, it's significantly less, and so we've got to capture these methane leaks. And yeah, having the tools now, remote sensing, even from satellites, you can see where the leaks are. Many of them are known, right? We have these batteries and plants and facilities that you're intentionally flaring because it's just necessary to make the plant work.
Right.
But now we have these tools where you can essentially turn that wasted energy into power and that power into data. So I think you're going to see the energy landscape transform over the next 5-10 years as oil and gas companies realize this is a great tool to protect the environment better and to protect their bottom line better. It's a win-win for sure.
I was just reading an article about the mining industry in the U.S., and it talks about how Texas is really the home to it. And one of the reasons why is that because it's on its own grid, which has other issues during storms, as we all know, that was a problem a few years ago. Because it's its own grid, they're more in control of it, and they can be more flexible to different uses like Bitcoin miners and that type of stuff. And they've given the mining industry great pricing for it, however that works. So the bulk of the U.S.'s mining industry is there. In Alberta, which also has amazing natural resources and things like that, do you have a similar situation where it's beneficial to be there, or is that something that needs to be worked on?
No, it's absolutely similar. Texas really is a function of abundant, cheap gas. And like I've been talking about Alberta and other places, a lot of that gas is flared or wasted on remote sites. So the underlying story is pretty much identical. There is huge opportunity in both province or state of Texas and the province of Alberta. It really a function of abundant energy that can be converted, and and open-minded, I think, governments in both places that see this as a good tool and see it as a good opportunity to support industry and reduce pollution all at the same time.
So what's next for Nexus Digital Energy? You're just starting out, and you've jumped into the entrepreneur sinkhole, as we all call it here. You spent let's see if I get this right, you're my third guest that has spent part of their life in Ithaca, New York.
Yes. Yeah. Ithaca was a fun time.
And so we'll say that, I've had one of Coinbase's lawyers, Patrick Dougherty, has been on our show talking about that type of stuff. And he teaches now at Ithaca. But the point is that you're a learned man, Frumph, and you've got the industry experience. And so now you're striking out on your own to get this. What's the first entrepreneurial step? Where are you with Nexus in the process?
Yeah, so we just started the company. Some I can't say yet. We're going to be officially launching our website here probably before the end of the year. Partnered with another smaller Bitcoin mining operation. And the goal here is we're in the process of raising capital so that we can scale the business. So there's a number of operating sites in Alberta right now. And my partner, to his credit, is built the core business from the ground up, just bootstrapped it from nothing. And I'm coming in to put my own money and time into it and really, go and scale this thing. So we've got some pretty exciting conversations happening with some much larger players in the space that are coming in to support us. And the game really, or the goal really, is to scale as quickly as we can in Alberta, secure as many of these stranded energy sites, and really expand the footprint of the business, and really, support the compute need that's growing immensely, and kind of fill that gap.
Well, I know that there are obviously plenty of places in the world that need that could use services like this. I mean, the world is vast, and infrastructure has touched only, in reality, a small part of the world. But that's the same for Canada. Canada is a vast place. It has lots of northern communities. Is the new products behind the Nexus Group something that the government of Canada could use, or the Northern Territories could use for those fly-in communities and other things like that, to have a better source of power rather than just relying on burning diesel? There are wells up there, but is that also something that the governments might be looking into?
That's an interesting question, actually. It's something I've been thinking about quite a bit. There's definitely abundant opportunities internationally in places like Africa, Venezuela, Argentina. And some of these, admittedly, are politically risky and less developed, but they have abundant gas resources that are stranded. Again, lack of infrastructure. And so by having these modular sites that can monetize gas in this way, you can build out that infrastructure economically, and you can start to produce these resources, provide tax revenues and employment for local people.
That's exactly. Actually, can you hear me? Hello?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's exactly where I was going to ask. On third world, second world countries that are looking into crypto and making Bitcoin their primary currency, right? With this technology and how it, like let's just say Colombia, right? Colombia has a lot of waste in a lot of their infrastructure, and so the current president was sitting there. He's starting to become more favorable towards crypto. Would this be something that could literally develop a whole entire industry within a third world country, where they could literally kind of sustain things and over the long haul build additional industries off or even adjacent to it, where it would cause more jobs and, i.e., better flourishment for that country?
I believe so completely. Anywhere you've got poorly developed energy infrastructure, these remote data centers can be an economic anchor for developing those resources in all of these developing countries. And I think you're seeing it already. It's already happening. And I think you're going to see it pick up immensely over the coming decade.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was wondering, because as you start to move forward into, obviously use the word stumble. I hate to use that word, right? But like, you stumbled onto this. We've kind of figured this out as we were moving. It wasn't like, 10 years ago, we said this is what our plan is and we can see this happening, right? It's like, oh, shoot, we can do this. In the future, as let's say, if we start to increase more methane gas because more people, more junk, right? And as a second and third world countries start to develop even more, so you're going to also have more junk, more landfills. Even possible is it where you could develop larger institutions for these landfills, where it's specifically used, where you can encapsulate that methane and even turn it away. We already have huge stadiums where we fit a million, well, not saying million, but 200,000-300,000 people, and it's the side of as a landfill. Is that something you guys are thinking about, or no?
Oh yeah, I know, 100%. And I'd like to say, I didn't invent any of these ideas. We're just being a fast follower and our value proposition at Nexus is just executing. We've got the network and the skills and the experience to take gas, turn it into power, turn it into data. So we're just out there running hard, executing, and trying to be that infrastructure provider, right? We didn't invent the idea. There's a lot of competition in this space and a lot of other really great companies doing the same thing. But yes, that's where we fit. And the landfill gas, absolutely. In Canada, there's that opportunity. Again, it's already being done. Most landfills in the world, maybe not really poorly developed countries, but certainly in Canada, will have vent wells capturing the methane. But not very, very few of them are actually converting that to power or abating the methane. But the opportunity is there, and there are some Bitcoin mines running off of landfill methane today. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that, and it's a great opportunity for these poor countries to reduce that pollution and create revenue at the same time.
So here's the thing, what I was thinking, right? So let's say Mexico, there's a huge portion, right? And not to hit this, but in Mexico, as well as say South America, there's a lot of landfills, right? There's a lot of stuff where you can sit there.
Yep.
And I mean, labor is cheap, right? And so labor is cheap. You can go through, you can set up a partner with a country and say, hey, let us help you out here. We'll give you part of the profit. And additionally to that, you then go through and you set certain things up where within, let's say, a developed nation, your output to actually from output to full development and everything goes, you're talking maybe a 5%, 20%, whatever the margin is, versus in a third world country, we're talking almost a triple, quadruple.
Well, you have a lot of expenses dealing with getting your stuff there to the. It's not like there's a rail line delivering your stuff everywhere.
You're right. Sorry. Yep. Missed that.
No,
part.
but it's all right. You have a valid point there, Pedro, in that the Bitcoin mining industry is a race to the bottom for expense. As I like to say, it's probably the fastest, most innovative industry I can think of because it has the ability to react almost instantly. And move. As soon as there's a faster computing source, they're buying it. As soon as there's a cheaper electrical source, they're using it, and they're moving around and they're causing the electrical industry to take notice. Like, whoa, hey, we need to, we've been doing our stoogey thing for the past 50 years. We need to come up with a way to deliver them just 1 cent cheaper. We'll get a whole bunch of customers to them. And same with the miners industry themselves. They can we can just get one more hash out of it. They'll buy ours versus theirs and that type of stuff. So that's a good thing for the market. That's a great thing. It drives innovation. It drives design. It drives new things in the market. And having the ability for someone like Simon here to go around the world and take advantage of that, it certainly will be interesting to see. Simon, we get to the end of the show here and end of the segment here. Any topics about your newfound company or the industry that you want to hit on before we go?
I think you captured most of it. I think the big one is just these data centers and Bitcoin mining really are a great user of wasted energy and a way to make grids more efficient and a way to capture landfill gas, all these things, what at first seemed wasteful when you dig into it. And I admit I was a convert when I first got into this space. I was like, really? Nah, I've done a 180. I truly at first kind of was of that belief as well. But the more you dig into it and understand how power grids actually work and understand how energy is actually consumed around the world, you look at this really flexible usage of energy as a really good thing that can support so many other positive impacts. So I'm a real believer in it. We're focused on, scaling our business and applying these tools wherever possible. We're going to start in Alberta, but we're also looking at other jurisdictions, like you said, where there's landfill gas that needs to be mitigated or other emissions that are being wasted.
It's coming out of golf courses now that are built on landfills. Every once in a while, I'm on the third hole and something stinks over here. And it's like, wow.
I combined my two passions, golf and Bitcoin mining. There you go.
Well, Simon, thank you very much for appearing on our show today. We'll be interested in following up with you later in the new year about how your company's progressing and how you are solving the problem personally solving the climate issue regarding Bitcoin mining. So once again, thank you on behalf of our viewers and Pedro. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
All right, you're welcome. See you soon. Well, Pedro, that was certainly was interesting. A whole end of the industry that I didn't understand at all, and I've learned a lot about it. And frankly, I learned a lot just as usual. I've got a guest coming on, so I've got to learn about it. And then hearing, I would say that some of the thoughts I had, like, oh, I've got this section of it, and Simon's like, well, actually, it's sort of like this, and I was like, now I get it. So that's good. Yeah. It's good. It's good to hear that, and it's good to hear about the size of the industry. There's new companies and entrepreneurship going on, and I got to say, as we all know, I'm an American here, and we do a kind of hopefully a worldwide show. We've got Milzion from the UK. We've got Kaching. Hey. Hey, Kaching. We've got let's see, who else do we have here? We had Mike from Manitoba. I got to do this. But
Mikey.
But regardless, you've got the your wrong screen on there, Pedro. You've got the
forgive me.
There's Simon still hanging out in the background.
Hey, sorry for that. I wasn't even. Hey, look at this beautiful picture.
Right. But anyway, as my point was that while we're a global sensation here, we still have, because I spend half my life in Canada, I have I'm plugged into that industry, and it's good to learn about how this vast country north of the U.S. Actually has the most amazing natural resources and the ability to use them well, instead of just, as they say, digging up dinosaurs and burning them to power your TikTok things here. They're doing it to secure the Bitcoin mining.
It's huge. And I'm impressed. Wow. I remember you mentioned, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then as I sat there, as he was talking, I was like, well, this is, like you said, I thought I kind of understood it. No, I'm clueless. Like I wish I was. I wish I would have had so many more viable questions to ask him, because now as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wait, so how would you do this? And anyways. Yeah, brilliant. Wow, that is just absolutely
all right.
brilliant.
As we get into the last part of the show here, Pedro and I are going to talk smack about the markets and stuff like that as usual. Our viewership is low today. It's Monday, but that's not the point. If anyone's got any projects that they want Pedro to go over, just drop them in the comments. We'll take a look at them and talk about the market.
And hit the like button as well, if you will do that.
Yeah, hit that like. I'm going to put that up once again for everybody. Welcome, everybody.
Hit
just
those
like
hearts.
it, comment. Drop whatever comment you want. Just, as I say, just do it. But Pedro, what's going on with all the market different things? We've already talked about Mr. Beast, the BTC market. What else you got? Yeah. What else is on the docket here this morning?
Also, let's check out SHIB, because we did have the SHIB army step in here real quick. Shibbity Shib, Shibbaroo. As like I said, I was expecting to see a nice little sell-off here where we're at, coming back down, like I said, to potentially the 5083 mark. And then like I said, and this is not a negative thing, okay? So my SHIB army, listen, this is not a negative thing. As a person who would look to see where I want to buy, this is where I want to see, right? If I can see a price come down to that 05828-ish area, and potentially even that 0563 area, like these are markers that I want to buy. Like these are great markers. These are places that I would look to buy in the market. And additionally to that, if it does decide it wants to continue, look, we're going to have to chew through this area here, which is that, like I said, like that monthly as well as weekly area. So this is why I said we hit this area. We're starting to see a sell-off now. And so be looking for a type of retracement if we do continue to see Bitcoin sell off. It's not a negative thing. It's literally an area for, look, we're clearing out these sellers here up at that 0411 area and the 041060 area, simply because it's basically going to be chewing up this area before we do move it higher. So That's a good thing. Also, let's check out a little bit of Doge community in the house. Ooh, 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 ooh. What's up, Carbon Crypt? Hope you're doing well. Hey, do us a favor, hit them like and tell us where you would like to be. You guys can see here, Doge is looking pretty similar. We didn't get up exactly to that $8 mark area here on. Oh, this is dot. Forgive me. I was like, wait, when did that happen? I was like, they're $8. Holy crap! Anyways,
Carmen Crypto in the house, Carmen Crypto coming us to it from Vegas.
Vegas, baby, Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, baby. Yeah,
nothing good going on there anymore.
So, as you guys can see here, Doge has definitely hit our supply zone. We're seeing a nice little good sell-off.
Welcome,
here.
Space Cat, to the party.
Space Cat, what's up, my brother? Hit that like button, please.
Hit that like button. Carmen, hit that like button. Everyone, just do it.
Just do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Anyways, you guys can see here very clear that the market hit the supply area. Again, this is a higher time frame supply. We should see this come down to that 7.4 area, and potentially again, when I say this is not a negative thing. Come back and retest for basically the year, the bottom here. Like, I keep bringing this up because, look, I've talked about this multiple times. We did not put a strong demand wake in any of this stuff, and for the year. So either we're going to see a good sell-off for the year and then a push back up for the beginning of the year, or we're going to see next year. Because here's the thing. We are putting in the wick for the year right now, the seller wick. So if I go to the 12-month chart, you'll see, look, we're putting in the wick here. So we hit this area and now we're coming down. So if I see it at the beginning of the year go up, that's not a good sign, right? Because they go up to go down. So I want to see this thing come back down into these lower levels, right? First, so that we can move up for the beginning of the year. So this, or not move up, but see it come down a little and then see it rally back up. So that's what I'm seeing. Because remember, we got the halving coming here in about in October, or excuse me, in not October, I say October, in April. So that's 6 months, 4 months from now, 4 to 6 months from now, right? So we should start to see some stuff going on. We need a sell off to come back up, or it's just going to drop like a rock. So the other thing, I'm just being honest, right?
Not that any project's ever done that before.
Never, not in crypto. Let's check out DOT here. DOT here is hitting, this is much similar to what is happening in Bitcoin. Here's DOT. You can see here that DOT is short right before the actual market here. And what I find interesting, and let's go to this part here for DOT. Come on, dot. All right, you can see here for DOT.
Sorry about that, Pedro. Carlos, sorry, I didn't see your comment during the show. My LinkedIn comment system has been slow lately, but we'll connect after.
So I think what we see here, and I think this is really, really cool, right, is us looking at the longs and shorts. You can see the shorts are picking up, right, on DOT, right? People as it's moving up, but it's only been recently, but it's still within this range within DOT, which has been the yearly range. Okay, we see shorts, but more importantly, look at, and I think this is really important for DOT, the DOT community. Come on, is you're seeing a good amount. Look at these higher highs and higher lows. This is sexy for me. Like when I sit there and I go, DOT. I mean, listen, a DOT, if you look at DOT as well as a lot of these other smaller coins, right, you're seeing, I guess it's small. It's a protocol that's phenomenal. And so when I sit there and I look at this and I go, okay, what's a great value, right? Like when you look at protocols and consistency and what they've created, they're still a low value in comparison to what they were at, right? Where they were, I think it was the high was, like $60 or 56 bucks, right? They're sitting at $7, $6. So for me, I'm sitting there and I'm going like, and I do see them potentially going higher. So in addition to that, let's check, it was Doge and then Cash, not Kaz. Let's check out Kaz here real quick. See what they're doing.
Kaz in the house.
Kaz, boom. Here
Kaz
we
is
go.
loading up, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to be a millionaire, that's the one to load up. Wait, hey, I didn't mean to say that. There's no token promotion here. You're not going to become a millionaire by doing anything other than inheriting it.
And this is literally just going to be for educational and educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice. So with that said, you can sit and see this point where, like I've been talking about, I do expect to see a bit of a sell-off, but this is not a bad thing, right? This thing has skyrocketed, literally gone from 2 million, 1 million to, I think up here its peak was like 4.8 mil, which is still impressive, in the fact that we're still kind of in this bear run. So,
right.
And they built this whole entire thing over the last year, right? Where they started from nothing, right? Triple zero to triple zero and 5, all the way up to literally 12, 13 cents. That is absolutely impressive. You're talking, that is almost 1,000x. So that is, like, that's just ridiculous, right? Like, or was it 500x?
Whatever. It's plenty of X's. It's more than you'll ever get in T-bills.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. But we're not. And listen, T-bills is for a certain purpose of people, so that's important. Okay. So all of this is all based off of what best suits the client. But as I can see here, I do see as we're coming over for a crossover, and we're seeing it come down to these lower levels. So I do expect us to play down at these, 8 cent. As well as that 5 cent area, because here's the thing, these are great buys to sit there and go, I can load up, for 8 cents and potentially see this thing get to a 500 million market cap, maybe even billion market cap. And right now it's sitting at 4 to 2 million market cap. So these small little coins here have a great potential. They've got a great ecosystem. They got great, it's just a great community. And so I sit there and I say, all right, if I'm going to, personally, try to make a little income for myself, right? Then boom, this is a bit of a gem in the background. But again, this is not financial advice, and this is for entertainment and educational purposes only. So that's it in a nutshell. And I want to talk about Grok. Grok
Let's see it.
Yeah, this is kind of nuts when I look at Grok, because, like, I think it was up here when we started looking at it. I said, I don't expect it to go any higher, right? And so I sat there and I was looking at this going, so sure enough, boom, we saw a nice little bit of a sell-off. We're breaking the trend line right here, which is, as you guys can see, we've held this pretty strong, this daily trend line. So it's one of those things that we're not breaking it. It's just, for me, when we do something like this, right? And we're talking, this has followed it pretty strong. It's going to create a new trend line. So potentially, I do see this a slowdown of Grok.
Now the volume's dropping off. That's for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and like I said, I don't know if it's gonna. Everybody's out talking about this coin. Again, it's I think it's a meme coin. But the key though is that as it creates the new trend line, right? Expect it to come down to an area of support, which is the last one was really at the 0.045 area. Okay, 0.49, 0.5 area here. That will give you an area where potentially, if you're going to try to get in, right, and you want to be in this for the long haul, or just simply however you want to get into it, this area here at this level, and then as well as, give me a second, come on, right here, and then another area here is right here at this level. Come on, baby.
I think those levels are too low, Pedro. I think if it gets down there, people are just going to be dumping like crazy, and the party will be over.
Well, here's the thing: you always have your diehards, and so this is where be an area where you could pump. So if it does come down to this area, there are going to be buyers here. I don't care if what you think. Like, I've seen this so many times in crypto and traditional markets. It comes in areas of buy. These are psychological buys. And so the 50-day, we're coming up, this is 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. You're like, what are you doing,
Is that
Pedro?
new math
All
there?
right. Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying this is I'm looking for 50-day out. We have our 50-day moving average. Okay. And what that does is that's the psychological area of buys, right? So it's a 50%. So I think it's cut itself down to 50%. We could sit here and see this either go sideways and or come back down to these areas where we could be playing off that 50. I'm pretty positive the 50 is in this area right down in here. Okay. And so for me, when I'm looking at this, I'm mentally trying to see where is that, even though I can't see it on the chart yet, it's a psychological area. And so that's probably about right here-ish area, right? And so when we come down and we hit it, right, even though it's not there, it will do a nice little, we should see a nice little thing. So that's why I'm sitting there going, all right, we have 50 days out. Then in a distance, if we're marking it, it should be about either right here at this level or a little bit lower right here, right? Because the majority of price hovered around this area right here. So that's why I'm sitting there going, is this gonna break? And if it does break, are these levels here gonna come up? I think it'll probably come up from these levels to at least hit either as a resistant or support area within Grok. Now, speaking of Grok, dude, I guess everybody who now has on X a premium, which I do, right?
Yep.
Is going to have access to Grok to ask it questions and
Yeah, the Grok. I call it Grok. I don't know which is right. It's probably none. It came from a book, Stranger in a Strange Land, which I read a long time ago. It was a great book. And in my mind, it's Grok, but I don't know if it's Grok. Could be Grook. You know, people pronounce it like Groot on the Marvel stuff. You know, it's
yeah.
But anyway, you'll have access to the first access to Elon's AI platform. Whether that's good or not, we don't know.
Do you know how to use it? Like, my key is, how do you actually, like, that's what I was trying to figure out.
All I know is
like,
I have a note saying you'll be notified when it's available.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting there going, like, when is this thing coming, man? Because I'm at a point where it's like, let's go now. Let's come on. Like, when Moon, baby. Like, when Lambo. Let's
When
go,
Lambo.
Elon. I have a friend of mine who just developed he has a chat box AI, and it specifically is focusing on business and marketing development, where you basically just like put in information, and it would actually create its own pitch deck. And I think it's pretty cool. Cat's Army, oh shoot, this is part of why I love cats. There you go. It's one of those things that I sit there and I'm looking at this and I go, this AI technology, man, is going to make life so much easier. Just, it already has, but it's almost like the big tech people are eliminating it to, like, when I used to be able to go into Bard and ask Bard, hey, what was the last 5-minute volume on the S&P 500 at the open on the 5-minute candle for the last 5 days, right? And it would be like, oh, it's this. Now it sits there and tells me, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't give you that information."
I bet you I bet you that the industry was overloading it with questions for that. I gotta imagine the whole financial industry, once it said it could, they figured out they could use it. You know, the other day we spoke about this and like, hey, it doesn't always work. I was asking anything about currency. It said that's not permitted. And the limited research I did was just that it was very popular and it overwhelmed it.
It's still frustrating because it's like, well, if you can't handle the load, it's like, listen, if I want to talk, I can call up my grandma and talk. Okay. Like if I wanted to talk, I'll call up a guy in my church who likes to talk and we can talk. Right. And he give me information. Well, I can do my own research. Why am I using you? right?
Yeah,
Like, why
I
am
have
I
conversations with Alexa, so
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to be the old guy talking to the machine. That's for sure.
But either way, it's frustrating. So it's like, come on, man. Like, come on, Sam. Let's go, dude. Like, come on. Who's the owner of Google? I forget the guy's name. He's the guy from India, or not from India, but he's
For which company?
For Google, or I guess it's
Sergey?
called Alphabet. Yeah, Sergey. Come on, Sergey. Let's go, man. Get this thing's working, man.
Yeah.
People who really want to use it are really the financial people, and you guys know that.
Right.
And we're willing to pay it. I mean, I'm literally paying for this, and I'm like, honestly, I just wanted to be like, let me pull my money away, because it's no longer a help for me how I need it. I can go to Google, or I can go to other places. At least I know with Grok, I don't see him taking that away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't.
Yep. Well, everybody, I said we had a good show today, Pedro, huh?
I think so too.
Yeah.
But that 3 mark, I don't know if you see, but I only see 3 thumbs up on this. I think, dude, and
I see more than that.
Yes. Oh, really?
I see 7 likes. The analytics board says here.
Oh wow! I only see 3. Oh my goodness! Like, I was like, wow.
It's I don't know how they figure that shit out, but anyway, we had a good show today. We had across all the different platforms at about 30 viewers or so. 14 here on YouTube, which will probably increase with the great algorithm just throwing viewers at us all the time. But I want to thank Simon Raven for being on today.
Yes.
Well, like I said, we'll have him on in the new year at some point to follow up and see how his entrepreneurial spirit is doing, whether it's booming like crazy and he loves it, or man, he hates it and can't wait to get a 9-to-5 job again. But tomorrow on the show, as you can see in the background, I'm going to have the great Colia Carrington of the Canadian Blockchain Consortium once again talking about Canada. But tomorrow, Colia, while her organization says Canada, they've recently spent a lot of time in Texas on trade missions because Texas and Alberta are very similar groups. Just one's hot, one's cold. And as you can see, here's a picture of Colia with the Premier of Alberta, as the Premier is very crypto digital economy friendly, as they try to kind of morph their economy from solely oil and gas, excuse me, into a modern digital economy. So it's gonna be good. We're gonna have a lot of good stuff to hear from her, and she's she's always a gas too. And when you get her going talking about topics and like that, so we'll enjoy having her on. But
Smart girl.
Before we go, Pedro, anything else you got hiding up there?
Not much right now. Like I said, we were expecting Bitcoin to see a sell-off in this area here. You can already see on the 5-minute chart since we started. Like I said, it will go up to go down. I think it started an hour ago around 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it looks like it's taking a little bathroom break now. It's
a nice little bathroom break.
All right, everybody. So pay attention to us. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's a different time though. Tomorrow we'll be on at 1 p.m. Eastern time, because that's when Colia could join us. And also, as you know, you've heard me saying I'm trying to find some different times during the day in which is that sweet spot. And I happen to have the afternoon open tomorrow, so it's a good time to do it. Pedro, we'll see you tomorrow, and everyone else. Thanks for joining in once again. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking here in the digital media world. And another episode of DYOR has come to a close. See you tomorrow, so be there.